Did that do it? That is so weird. Well, whatever. Hi. I don't know which mic is coming through right now. And it's funny because when I did all my tests and everything earlier, it was working fine. So why it decided to make one hot now, I have no idea. But yeah, I'm told it sounds good, so at least there's that. I have a suspicion of what I think it is, but it's not something I could fix right now. So if I sound good, then I'm just gonna leave it. I'm just gonna motor on ahead as if everything is good and right and just with the world. Welcome, champions. My name is Dylan, and I am coming to you live from one of the rooms in my home in beautiful Victoria, BC, Canada. Apologies if there's a bit of echo, some other weird stuff, because I have lac and plaster walls, and it's a little less friendly to audio than I would prefer. So, there's that. And my landlord decided that the second time he wanted to mow the lawn this week would be right now, so I ended up closing my window, so it's getting really hot in here quickly because the sun is now facing me. Hence the kind of blown out color a little bit. I had to close my blinds. Anyways, before we begin, first I would like to thank D&D for hosting us on the official D&D Twitch. It's always an honor to be a part of the D&D Twitch, and yeah, we're just happy to have everybody involved. Love everybody, love that whole D&D family. And shout outs as well to Erica, who's running the C&E Games Twitch, running the night bots, managing the things, making sure things work, grabbing questions, all that stuff. Good evening from Finland. Wow, Kempfet. Good afternoon from the west coast of Canada. So before we get too far into it, there's a few things. One, I just want to kind of acknowledge the unique and unprecedented situation we all find ourselves in that we are in the midst of a pandemic, and everybody pretty much everywhere is staying home as much as possible. And unless you're what do they call it? An essential worker these days, which includes a lot of people who have low-paying jobs somehow, but they're essential. So it's a very, very interesting time. So I'll load this up, close this window. I just wanted to kind of acknowledge that it's, I don't know about you, but as somebody who is not normally prone to anxiety, I'm living with a lot more anxiety than I did before, millions of people around the world were infected with a brand new disease, or newish. It's pretty crazy. Dodalmax, the things in regards to COVID-19, things are actually going pretty well in British Columbia, Canada, but not well across Canada. Shout outs to the people who work in the healthcare industry in BC, our Minister of Health, Adrian Dix, our provincial health officer, Dr. Bonnie Henry, who is amazing. They've been doing a really great job in communicating with the public here and managing that for all of us. BC seems to be doing well, but I mean, we're taking it a day at a time. I mean, it is common that pretty much everybody everywhere tunes into those updates every day, and then maybe even watches the news at night to see how things are going in other places. it's something else. I can't, as somebody who used to be a huge fan of history, the only other, like the last time I can think of the entire world being focused on one thing was when the whole world was at war in the late 30s into the early mid 40s. So and the last time there was a pandemic, I mean, there's only like a couple of people alive who were around the last time there was a pandemic. So it's quite the time. So thank you for taking time out of your days to join me here. I know that a lot of people are feeling like they're forced to stay home and that they're forced in, that they don't have a choice in what they can do or where they can go, and people are out of work and so on. And it's yes, our green paradox. Living through a moment of history is not as much fun as reading about one. But we're happy to be able to keep things running and just like working our butts off to do everything that we normally do, just with 23 people each in 22 different locations. There are 2 people in our office, but they are like hundreds of feet apart at this point to maintain safe social distancing. It's a trip. H1N1 was also a big deal, Artifexy, but it luckily did not spread the way that it did. And on a tangential note, to tie it back to what I was talking about earlier about our provincial health here, Dr. Bonnie Henry was actually in Toronto for both H1N1 and SARS. Like, she's been dealing with epidemics around the world for 30 years. So we kind of lucked out in that she was the one that happened to be in charge for us when this started. So I'm just wishing you all well, like from the bottom of my heart to you. Be safe. Be as safe as you can be. And I hope all this is a relatively safe and painless thing for you. I mean, it's gonna be months. Let's be honest. Like, I know the governments are saying, "Oh, we hope to be open by May," or weeks or whatever. But like, let's be realistic. Like, it's gonna be months. It's So just wishing everybody the best everywhere, and I know that as countries like Canada start to get this under control, I mean, the first thing we're going to do is try to help our neighbors and our friends and allies around the world. So, anyways, welcome. I get a few questions, so I'm just going to actually talk about this game now. Umaro asked when there was a Barrowin fix. So, as I understand it, that is something that is high on our list of fixes, and I suspect it might actually be in the next new build. But you can put in a ticket to double check with Sean directly, because he is a little bit more on the pulse of that than I am. It is so much more challenging to be in the loop about everything happening with Idle Champions and Codename when we're all remote, because we're all constantly just in different forum and chat channels together. I see Sean is in chat, so he's watching the stream, so yeah, he can answer that question. Give me cookies. Is in-game loot enabled for these official streams? Yes. Up there in the corner. Am I pointing? No, I'm pointing the wrong way. Up there in the corner. Sorry, I just realized that I do things differently elsewhere. So over there is the code Pirate Stash for this beauty here, and there is a hidden one, and there is a clue, but it's probably the most obscure clue we've come up with to date for a one of our streams. So, you may find it, you may not. I don't know. I mean, it's really hard to come up with something that is equal parts challenging for players to find, but not so easy that one of the, quite frankly, thousands of people doesn't find it just immediately, because there's lots of people. So. Yeah, Total Max is right. It's not a flu. It's a respiratory disease. That nobody has immunity to. So, it doesn't matter what your age is. You do not want it. Um, so yes, there. Oh, Twitch drops. Somebody's asking about Twitch drops. We do not have any Twitch drops during the stream. We will be doing another Twitch drop. I think it's next week. Is it next week, Clive? Clive in chat. Because as I understand it, the last part to the Penny Arcade Green Flame gym, and if you've already unlocked the Green Flame click damage, you'll get the Green Flame skin for the Mage Hand Familiar. So all the Green Flaminess comes together as part of a Penny Arcade stream next week. And so I highly recommend that everybody check into that. And also, you know, why is baseball cap Charlie Chaplin doing the stream? So, I mean, I used to be bearded. First, I need a haircut bad, which is the reason I'm wearing a hat, because it's embarrassing. I was supposed to get a haircut the week the lockdown started, and then just, everything closed, and ended up not happening. So I'm kind of shaggy up top, and the downstairs was trimmed off because I have like ultra hypersensitive, super soft, freaky skin that people are often jealous of. But the downside to having hypersensitive soft skin is that you got to take care of it, and it was just like drying out under my beard and getting itchy and scratchy and awful, and so I shaved to give it some time to breathe, yeah, and then I ended up with this, because if I actually shave off the mustache, I look way too young. Like I'm not going to do it. So, yeah. Let's see. Why is my Patreon variants completed still showing at 97%, even though I finished the new variants? That's a good question, Carla Boji. I suspect... I can't confirm that answer necessarily without shunting that one over to a dev. Dylan's brain thinks, aren't there a couple variants for each patron that are just outright disabled? And so that might be that one of those is still being counted for that total percentage. I don't know. But that would be my guess. What patron are you using? I'm actually not using a patron right now for this run. This is me completing one of the new variants that came out yesterday, and then I will do my patron runs of it after. Yeah. I've been like chipping away at my Strahd variants just because I haven't bought anything from his shop yet, so that's kind of where I'm at. Why doesn't Strix's Haunted buff show on incoming effects for other champions? That's a great question. I'm going to pass that along to the dev team. How do my mechanical keyboard switches sound? So anybody who is a fan of Corsair keyboards, like I am, they make really nice keyboards. And I really like mechanical keyboards, but Cherry MX switches are loud, as you can tell. You can probably hear that really clearly. What I've been planning to do is at some point pick up one of the Cherry MX silent ones that are way quieter. They're still kind of loud because it's still a mechanical keyboard, but they're a lot more quiet than this beast is. Yeah, sponsored. Yeah, right. Hey, if Corsair wants to give me a keyboard, I will not complain. That would be nice. Their keyboards are not cheap. You got Cherry MX Browns, Lenny Busker? Yeah, that sounds sweet. I got red for this one because I got the the K70 right when the first version of it came out. Yeah. Alrighty. Let's see. Is there not a way to access things like chests, blessings, patron when not in an adventure? It's annoying having to start a new game to look at these. You do have to, yeah. You have to be in an adventure to access all those menus. Let's see. Does the Veterans of Avernus Global Blessing stack additively or multiplicatively? God, it's funny is because we answer this one every once in a while, and then I can never remember the answer. Yeah. Dylan. Oh God, why is everybody? Oh, is that that's the jump in question, isn't it? That's the oh, it's the raffle. Okay, I was just so weirded out by chat. Um, let's see. Strix is haunted targets all champions, so it doesn't show because it's not a positional buff. Okay, that's why. Thanks, Sean. Um, I'm pretty sure it's additive, but I will wait for official confirmation because I don't want to. Don't want to give a wrong answer and come off as official because I make mistakes. Um, I saw a marker on mobs that spawn. Up arrow and left equals what effect? I'm not sure who or what it was from or meant. Cantankerous. So a handful of champions have debuffs that they can spawn on enemies. So it's chances are it's from one of them. Without seeing it, it's hard for me to diagnose exactly which one it is because I am too visual to understand it by text. Like if you showed me a screenshot, I'd be like, that's so and so's. But some of the players in chat are saying that it's Melf's speed up thing. Okay. Oh, it's the ones for when he spawns extra enemies. Okay. I was thinking that it was the okay. I was thinking it was a totally different one. Can you be more lenient for the next Twitch drops? Last time was too short for your worldwide audience. No, that's a fair point. So we learned a lot doing Twitch drops, including one thing which was the default settings for a Twitch drop, where you have like this narrow 3-minute window, is not really enough time for somebody to be like, "What? There's a drop," and go and get it. So, you know, we've made an adjustment to that, but also we are interested in trying to make it easier for global audiences to get something, not just people who are in North American time zones. So, you know, we have plans for ways for players outside North American time zones to access those things, but nothing that I can share specifically yet. Am I the only one who wants a whisper silent keyboard / mouse for streaming? No, you're not, Garwar. Yeah, I mean, I do have an absurdly loud keyboard. Like, that's loud. And I didn't really think about it until this was starting. But like even my previous keyboards, because I have kind of fat hands, I always get the keyboards with bigger keys. They're loud. Yeah. The real question is, can you hear the lawnmower outside my window? Because I can hear it, and it's super annoying. Some of you know, some of you yes. There's also a fan in here, so there's also a fan sound because it's getting warm in here real fast. Where is Delena hiding? She's great in this campaign. Well, in this particular formation, I'm doing a kind of janky Artemis formation because reasons. Mostly because I wanted to have Artemis, Krull, Briv, and Turiel all out, and just kind of did something because, I mean, it's really not that difficult to blaze through the variants. Like complete area 275, I could probably remove a bunch of characters and still get through there. I'm mostly just trying to get this variant done so that I can do the patron versions of them. Is there an option to add friends to compare the progress of the game? So no, there isn't. This is a pretty distinctly single-player game, and we've put a lot of effort into trying to avoid making the game competitive, because we want it's a single-player experience, and so we've never had anything like adding friends or ways to compare progress, and it also isn't really something that we've considered adding to the game. It's not that we don't want people to have friends or share their progress with friends, but it's not something that's kind of behind the design mentality for how we put Idle Champions together. Obviously, if you're on Steam, you can look at your friends and see what achievements they have, and then you can use that to measure your progress. But we don't have any friends systems or ways to share progress. I just stream on Discord so my friends can watch. Oh, cool. That's fun. What's streaming to Discord like, Zelink? I've never tried it or considered it, because I think of Discord as an audio platform. The only thing we've ever done anything with Discord was when we had Cartoon Binwin on as a guest. Um, to break the illusion of that puppeteering, I was getting a screen share through Discord of the green screened Binwin that I was chopping out on one monitor to put onto the XSplit screen, and then I had another Zoom call with a green screened Crowy to chop out and crop and put on it so that Crowy and Binwin could be on stream at the same time. It was like this super janky setup with Discord, Zoom, and XSplit, and it was hilariously taxing on the CPU of the streaming machine in the office. It was just, it was a nightmare. Yeah. Flying Fortress, just a misspelling or an in-game reference. We have a typo on our Avernus map, Rizaflow. That is not intentional. That is a job for Chris Dupuis, who tracks our typos, and as we make updates, waves of typos get fixed. Because as it turns out, when you put lots and lots of copy into games, the rate of mistakes is I don't want to say super high, because that's a little unfair to the people who put work on it. But I mean, we make mistakes. Sometimes it's something that a spell check doesn't catch. Sometimes it's something that was fixed, but then that fix didn't make it into the final version of the game for whatever reason before it got pushed. It's all kinds of stuff. Typos are a nightmare. Yeah, I used to work in print publishing, and I hates them. I hates typos. Can we possibly have a way to see which champion has killed the most mobs? Champion kill stat. I'll pass that along. We get requests for stats on a semi-regular basis, but when it comes down to it, we don't always have an idea of how we want to implement more stats into the game if we're going to include something. So I will pass that one along. Talking about achievements, any plans on adding more achievements for Xbox? As I understand it, it's a great big question mark for console achievements, because it's very different than adding achievements to Steam, which is why we haven't really done much with it. I know that some players are achievement hunters. Like, I hear you. One of our staff members, Georgia, actually completed every achievement in Red Dead Redemption 2, and I'm just mentioning that because it's the most insane thing I've heard of lately, because that game is so big. It's such a massive game. But Georgia is determined. We adding more console achievements to Xbox One and PlayStation 4 is something that we talk about on occasion, but it isn't something that is high up on our priority list because of the challenges that adding achievements to those platforms presents. Was Artemis gimped recently? He seems almost useless. No. Nuckin Futz. No, Artemis hasn't been gimped, at least not intentionally or actively. But what I suspect you're seeing is the fact that Zorbu gets better forever and Artemis doesn't. So depending on your gear for Artemis and how you use them and the formations you have, he can be tricky to make amazing. Keep in mind that like you are buffing the crap out of someone like Caddy Bree or Dritz, ideally, and then he steals all those buffs, right? So he needs a bigger formation, and you have to be pretty intentional with your placement so that he gets well buffed. So no familiars. I do have all the familiars one rune, but I didn't see a reason to have them out. Yeah, all the champions are except for Turiel, they're all pretty much level capped. And this is a 275 area adventure in order to complete it. So I just figured it's more fun to actually watch the champions attack something than watch the familiars clicking away. And then some of our players in the past have talked about having visual sensitivities to flickering and stuff, which our familiars are one of the biggest agitators. So I haven't been using them as much. The overlay makes it really hard to see that. Yeah, I mean, I can switch over to the game view if you guys want to see it for a second. Like, there's the things. As you can see, my unfairly overgeared dev privileged champions. Just kind of trucking away, blowing stuff up. Um, yeah. Oh. Loved seeing Archon's dialogue. Archon, sorry, not Arcan, Archon, in the new Avernus adventure. Great touch. Nice seeing someone get a lot of lines that isn't Brunner, Celeste, Naily, Trillaxel. It's an interesting observation, Bladed Dragon. First, thanks for noticing. Thanks for noticing. It's something that we like to do, but the worry is that if we lean on champions outside of core and evergreen champions too much, that too many players won't have them when they do the adventure, which isn't really something that we want to like point out. So yeah, I lost weight. I don't have no idea if I've lost weight or not, to be honest. I mean, I'm basically eating vegetarian at home and like getting some exercise, but less exercise than before. So maybe I'm slowly starving. I don't know. Can you remember and name all the champions in the game? No. I think like I think if I got started going slot by slot, I could probably remember lots of them, but all of them, I don't know. Man, yeah. Uh, Maybe I'll give that a try in a little bit. Let my brain percolate on that challenge, Thunder. Okay. As a newer player, how long can I expect to be leaning on Jarlaxle as DPS? I'm ready to play someone else, but no opportunity after a week now. Well, it sounds to me like you're still doing lower favor adventures one rune, and like Jarlaxle is great to start, but he's not really a dedicated DPS. He should help you amp up your gold find. But like the first strong DPS in the core champions is Minsk. And then Minsk is eventually outshadowed by Jamila. And even though Archon is a core champion, using him as your main DPS is really difficult until you've unlocked a lot of champions and you can really take advantage of usurp power. So, yeah. But it sounds to me, one rune, like you need to start working on building up your favor enough that you can upgrade and purchase more champions for your formation. And I highly recommend checking out some of the guides that our players have done, like Garwar and Silisa and Mars. There are tons of guides on our subreddit and the Idle Champions Discord, discord.gg/idlechampions, where you can find insights to how, as a new player, you can get into the deeper aspects of the game and higher favor levels earlier on. But yeah, Jarlaxle, you should expect him to be your DPS to start, but he is replaced. Yeah. Raven's Voice 2. Is it intentional that you need all except 10 of the first 4 Strahd tiers before you can spend any on the 5th one? Or did that number not take into account that both 4th tiers and for Strahd are only 20 levels? You talking about buying the Strahd blessings? I haven't even looked into these, to be honest. Not really. Wait, no, wrong shop. Where's the patron shop? So you're talking about you need all of them in order to buy into these ones? I mean, yeah, we want you to spend favor in order to get to the higher levels. So that's kind of, yeah. I mean, I assume that's an intentional design choice. Justin put that together. Ernie, any chance we can get some old school champions, since I only know 6 to 8 champions in this game? Thoka. So, I mean, is Melf one of those ones? Because he is the oldest champion we have probably added any time recently. So there's a bunch more to that question that I feel obligated to address. For starters, when we set out to make this game, it was around, I guess we set out to make it shortly after the launch of 5e, and everything has had a distinctly 5e focus, despite the fact that this game obviously is nothing like an RPG where you're using the 5th edition or any of the other D&D rule sets. Like this is an idle game. But because we were focused on 5e, we first focused on characters, campaigns, and stuff related to the Forgotten Realms setting that is in published 5e books. That's why our adventures are, you know, the most recent adventure books published each year. It's why a lot of the characters that we've had in the game, that's why we use who we use. The only ones who aren't really in 5e are the Companions of the Hall, because they haven't really made an appearance in recent D&D editions for the TRPG materials. I know that R.A. Salvatore is still writing Drift's books. And so that's why we have Farida and Havilar. That's why we have the Force Grey characters that were in the Force Grey Lost City of Omu stream. And it's kind of like we've definitely had a distinct leaning towards champions that represent more recent characters from the last, 5 to 10 years or so. This isn't to say that we don't want to include more older characters. Like, before Dragonbait was in the Tomb of Annihilation book, Dragonbait was in some books from... Like, when was Azure Bonds published? Like, it was either the late 80s or the early 90s. Melf is obviously an older school, like, legacy D&D character. And there are some other ones we want to add too, but they present their own challenges in that, like, and this is a hypothetical. Say we were going to put in Elminster of Shadowdale in the game. Elminster being, basically a god class wizard. Like, he's basically a deity, right? Like, Elminster and Mordenkainen, they're characters that are, like, absolutely legendary. They have spells and areas named after them. They're, crazy powerful. How could we possibly put them into the game as a champion with the way that we have the game designed? Because, like, what would you need a formation of 10 people for when you had Mordenkainen or something? Just as an example, right? So a lot of the older characters are hyper powerful, and we just kind of haven't really figured out the way that we want to best represent them in the game in some form. Like, we're aware that people want them. People have been asking about Elminster since the game launched, but it hasn't been the right time to include those kinds of characters yet. Patrons are options potentially, but at the same time, like, you kind of, I don't know, it's a tricky thing. So if more old school D&D characters, more legacy characters from, the books in the 80s, that kind of stuff, like, if that's what, the bulk of our player base wants to see, then we'll look into it. But most of the time, we kind of focus on the more recent ones because they're still fresh in people's memory. We have a new champion coming next week. Any hints? DPS support, healer, tank. Yes. Our tank. Our next champion is actually, I'll just say, is a DPS support champion next week with the running part 3. T Freems, is Dritz a good DPS? Been using him, but I have no idea. Dritz is not a top tier DPS like Artemis and Zorbu. Zorbu's in a tier all his own. Let's say Zorbu is S tier because he scales forever, and I don't know. I mean, maybe we'll do something about that at some point. But Zorbu's in his own class. The other top tier ones like Archon the Cruel or Artemis and Treri, they have abilities that greatly amplify their power if you really dedicate your formation to them. On a slightly lower tier, and when I say slightly lower tier, I mean you could still complete basically everything in the game with these other DPSs. You have characters like Dritz. Dritz is awesome, but you really need to unlock the other members of the Companions of the Hall to capitalize on how strong he is. As it stands, like, you get Brunner to start, and you unlock Dritz through gameplay, but Regis, Caddy Bree, and Wolfgar you have to unlock through time gates or through their events, and Dritz kind of needs them in order to be good. And even then, if you get Artemis, Artemis is always just a bit better than Dritz because he steals Dritz buffs. So, yeah. So yes, is Dritz a good DPS? Yes. Is he the best DPS? No. Is he top tier? Maybe, depending on what kind of stuff you have. Yeah. Can you get your level 100 achievements directly after your first run? I've literally only completed one run, and now I'm on level 85 and slowing down. Any reason I shouldn't keep trying? Sid 380. I guess. It sounds like if you're really slowing down, it sounds like you're getting close to your wall. Your wall being where, based on the divine favor you have and the upgrades you can afford, and the equipment that you have, that you are slowing down to virtually no progress made as you try to push further and further. So at that point, you're better off resetting the adventure, taking that increase in favor, and taking that into your next adventure. Maybe you try the same one, maybe you do another one, because you will be able to afford more. And hopefully you'll get some loot along the way. So that would be my suggestion, Sid 380. So, sure, if you wait long enough, you could potentially get your level 100 achievement during your first run, but it is probably more worth your time to starting to get into the habit of reset. Cruzian, is there a strategy to help boost gold farming for favors? Yes. There are several, but the most popular and successful of which is called Azaka farming, which is complicated enough that I'm not gonna hazard to try explaining it on stream. But there are guides to Azaka farming. You can find them on our subreddit, reddit.com/r/idlechampions, or on the Discord, discord.gg/idlechampions. But Azaka farming is the de facto mega gold boost for farming favor. The TLDR of it is that you unlock Azaka and shenanigans, but you set up a game state where you can radically amplify the amount of gold that you get, and then you explode something to get stupid amounts of gold. It's really neat, and it's something that we absolutely 100% did not intend to exist in the game, but since players have discovered it, we've been reluctant to remove it or change it because it's neat and it's not something we thought of. Why not make powerful characters like Mordenkainen just patrons instead of playing champions? So that is an option, Drake Blackbeard, and it's very much a possibility. And I think that's a cool idea. Like, I think, doing jobs for Mordenkainen or for Elminster or whomever else, Layrel, Silverhand, I don't know, take your pick. There's so many historical figures who matter. That would be cool. At the same time, I think that when players ask for them as champions, it's because they want these heroes that they've read books about and seen video games and stuff about, like, they want their chance to play them and see how they contribute to a formation. So I think beyond a patron, you also want them to have a positive effect on your formation, not just to make things harder for you through some horrific extra criteria, but also you want them to do something substantial for you. So that's kind of one of those things to figure out. Has there been talk with Critical Role to bring over one of their characters as a champion? Hey, it's the question. I'm going to take a drink. So the TLDR with Critical Role is that it is unlikely that characters from either Campaign 1, Vox Machina, or Campaign 2, The Mighty Nine, will ever make an appearance in Idle Champions. Critical Role, since this game has come out, hasn't just gone mainstream. They've taken off. They are busy. We love those folks. We have very much enjoyed the opportunities we've had to work with them and to collaborate on stuff. But it's unlikely that those champions will appear in the game. But we cross our fingers. We would absolutely love to, and I think a lot of players would love that too. Mixer, any upcoming Evergreen champions? That's a question that I'm a little afraid to answer. So, yes, we do have an internal list of champions that we want to include in the game. Some of whom have the potential to be evergreen champions, and one of whom we confirmed way too long ago that would be an upcoming evergreen champion. I can't give an ETA on it because I will let Chris Dupuis try to do that next time he gets an opportunity, because he maps out that kind of scheduling. But yes, we have promised a certain dwarven archmage as an evergreen unlock, and that's still the plan. But yeah, I don't have an ETA on it to give you. Sorry. 22 hours to a time gate. What's a time gate? Well, Aragon, time gates are an opportunity for you to play adventures that you may have missed, and unlock champions or earn gear for them. So, there are natural scheduled time gates that open on a regular basis. They open on the weekends in between events. So there will be one opening tomorrow at noon Pacific time. It is random for every player what's in the time gate. It's totally random, and it will offer you a chance to pick one of 3 champions to unlock or earn extra equipment for, and that's the natural ones. And then, as you play the game, you collect time gate pieces, and you can also earn time gate pieces by spending money in the patron shops. That will allow you to just pick champions you want to unlock or earn equipment for from the entire list of released champions. Although you won't be able to pick them for an event that's live, so there's that. But time gates are your opportunity to unlock characters and earn equipment for them. Can we get Vin Diesel as a champion? Not as a D&D character, just as himself. Well, Rambling Josh, I feel like that negotiation with an agent is the kind of scenario that we don't want to go into. Although I am fascinated by the idea that his Witch Hunter character is from a D&D campaign that he's played in for however many years. And if anybody else, did anybody else see that movie? Witch Hunter or Witch Hunters or whatever it was, the one with Vin Diesel. It was campy but really entertaining. Anyways, D&D is on Vin Diesel is unlikely. But I enjoyed that movie despite its The Last Witch Hunter. Thanks, Aragon. Yeah, I enjoyed that movie despite its quality. It was still watchable. Is Volo a character? Volo to date has been an NPC that shows up and on some adventures, and has even been somebody who takes up a slot in a formation, I think, at least once. But he's not a champion you can unlock. How a patron that, when maxed out, allows recruiting them as a hero. That is a possibility, Phantasmic Ghost. It's not something that we've ruled out. What about a patron who is usable as a hero but only during patron quests? Hey, I like that idea. I'm just going to pass these along to Justin. Careful, though. Like, what if we had a patron who makes variants so obscenely hard that you never get to unlock them for years because you can't quite get there? That would suck, wouldn't it? Like, I don't know. Alrighty. New question here. Sorry, what exactly does evergreen mean in this context, evergreen champion? So you could thank Chris Dupuis, our live services manager, for this terminology. Evergreen refers to champions whose loot shows up in gold chests. So that includes our... but it also refers to characters that are basically... that you unlock outside of events. So there's our core champions, the 12 champions you have no matter what, that as soon as you load up the game, you see Brunner, and then Celeste, and then Naeli, and then Jarlaxle, Calliope, Ashara, Minsk, Delena, Makos, Tyrell, Jamila, and then Archon. I think that's all of them. And so those are the core champions, because everybody has them. And then Evergreen refers to both them and Hitch, Azaka, and Dragonbait, and Dritz, who can be unlocked through other means. 3 of them through gameplay, 1 of them through signing up for the newsletter. But then their loot shows up in gold chests. So that's what Evergreen refers to. I don't know if it came from Cloverfield, as somebody had asked. It's a terminology that Chris Dupuis came up with. He's doing the champion call out from memory. Keep going. Okay, so who's in slot 1? We have Bruner, and then you have Deacon, Cathris, Turiel, and Cazaspia as well. And then slot 2 you have Celeste, and then you have Regis, and God, who's in slot 2? Celeste, Regis. I never swap between very many of those champions. I'm already failing. Oh, I'm on the spot. Now I suck at this. Celeste, Regis. God, who is in slot 2? Donar is in slot 2. And yeah, I'm just drawing a blank now that I'm trying to think too hard about it. And Sean is trying to tease Korth. Korth already, he's the one I always use, and I'm not even. So slot 3, we have Naeli was our first champion in slot 3, and then Grama was the next one. And we also have Binwin after that, who no longer gets used, and we have Spurt, and is there another one after that? What slot is Warden in? Oh, Warden's in slot 11. Oh yeah, I'm not going to get that one wrong. Slot 4, we have Jarlaxle, and then Stokey was our first event champion. Also have Paulton and Sentry and Ishii. Slot 5 is Calliope, and so Calliope and Xander, and who else is in that slot? Dadius the Scarlet, who I think was our first swap in that slot. Yeah, I know I missed Artemis. Thanks for reminding that. You have Puent, and you have who else is in slot 5? I feel like this is me just dying on stream, and somebody's going to clip my failure. I'm going to skip off slot 5 because I look down at my chat and see any employees are trying to send me hints. Don't do that. That's cheating. So next up we have Ashara and Krull. And if you're switching to anybody else beyond that, you're doing it wrong. They're like, he's in your formation. Yeah, no, I know now that Briv is in my formation, but I was trying not to look at the screen. I'm trying not to cheat, damn it. Anyways, Shara and Krull are the ones that matter. Krond is also there, and he was my boy, but I stopped using him. And Evelyn is also in slot 6. I'm forgetting who else, but I'm sure there's more. C&E equals cheaters naming everybody. Well, you know, I'm not looking at the screen, Donut Mind me. I'm trying not to cheat. Yeah. All right. I'm just going to stop. Warden's in slot 11. That's all I care about. Anyways. All right. Dylan, since there is an obvious crossover with Ravenloft and Idle Champions, if you had full creative control, which other realm would you have Idle Champions crossover into? Yeah. Probably Eberron, because I'm a huge fan of that campaign setting, and I would love for either Eberron or Sigil. But the reason I say Eberron is because, like, even if the crossover was just to Sharn, and we could do a Sharn map and have all the different levels of it, it's cool. I mean, who wouldn't want to journey into the Mornland? And it would be an excuse to use enemies like those giant war machines that exist in Eberron. Basically, giant war robots. They're in Eberron. They're not in many other settings. All right. Yeah. Any more daily login rewards coming up? Well, Rasta Splash. So it's something like the celebration that we just did for spring. Or celebration, the extravaganza. Sorry. so we did that. We do have plans for at least one more this calendar year. Lots of people saying Lord of Blades. Yeah, yeah. It's funny. I actually asked if we would be able to have the Lord of Blades as a champion in the game, and we got a hard no. They're like, no, you can't do that. So there was that. All right. What if Idle Champion says it's going to make a Critical Role character, except it just turns out to be a baker with a really good throwing arm? So on this subject, because we've been asked before, like, hey, like we know that you can't or aren't going to, or whatever. We know that Critical Role characters aren't happening. But what if you happen to make a Goblin Rogue that such and such? And at the end of the day, like we have no intention of doing any characters that are homage characters to Critical Role or anything like that either. Just because we're members of the D&D community. They're part of the community. We're part of the community. We like them. We get along with them. We do stuff with them, and we're not gonna do that. Yeah. But as Bear Claw McGraw says, we do need a goblin. We do. We need a goblin champion. We don't have one. Yeah. How about Mars as a patron who forces you to use a different set of champions each week? Yeah, that's an interesting idea. We already do weekend buffs. A patron who switches stuff around. I don't know. Conceptually, I don't know about that. Yeah. Would Dragon Knight from the D&D arcade version join in the roster? That's a good question, Cruzian. I don't... Presumably, that is a character that we could potentially access. Yeah, I don't know. We need a Kenku. Yes, we do. I agree. Anybody? I don't have the copies here because I'm no longer at my desk in the office. But Jim Zub has been releasing these really cool hardcover, like entry-level D&D books, and in one of them there's a Kenku monk who is like officially a character that exists, and I want so badly for them to join the game, but I was told no. Instead of having the champs pop up on the bar when you get enough gold, can they just always be shown? And then can we get the UI scale to go lower than 75%? I will pass your feedback along, Azazel Bishop. I don't know. With the way the game is built, I don't know that we can do that with our assets. But certainly, because in the gamepad UI, you can always see all the champions. It might be possible for us to adjust the way things are done to show the ones on the main bar. So it's not a promise, but I'll pass it along. Yeah. Would Crassus from D&D Shadow over Mystara join in the roster? I don't know Crassus. I'm going to Google search for Crassus. You listen to my loud keystrokes. Let's see. Okay, so he's from... What is he from? Because all the art of him is super exaggerated. Shadow over Mystara. Is this an old... What is this? Is this an old Golden Axe style game, or is it an RPG? I've never heard of this one. By Capcom. Huh. Interesting. I mean, so I guess it would... Let's play with the hypothetical a little bit here, shall we? There's a possibility we have access to this character. I don't know if we would ever include them. I'm just trying to look up, like, I'm trying to find a screenshot or some art. Default name Crassus / Jared. Huh. Yeah, I'd never heard of this before. The more you know. Oh yeah, there he is on the cover art. Crassus. Dungeons and Dragons Chronicles of Mystara. I never played that game or heard of it. What a trip. Okay. Are there plans to make variants available as free plays after completion? No, like right now, the variants for each adventure are only really available to play again through patron variants. So we don't have plans to expand on that Simpson on that system because every time we add a new patron, we add the entire game worth of variants to play through again. So it's a lot. So yeah, we don't have any plans to do anything like that right now. Bangarang for Idle Champions. Grung's Rule. Is Bangarang Lauren's character? And is Lauren here? I haven't actually had much of a chance to look at chat. Yeah, and like this is my looking in chat direction. This is my looking at questions direction, and this is my looking at camera direction. It's kind of slightly different setup here. Were there plans for a Triton that got scrapped? Ishii recently and it has a buff for Tritons. I thought it was strange. So what we were doing with that was we were thematically implying that Ishii, can have synergy with a Triton because the show that Ishii's character came from, which was Roll20 Presents Tomb of Annihilation, Ishii Snaggletooth was partied with a Triton. Maybe that was the case. I'm pretty sure that was why we did that. That's the way I remember it anyways. And so, we included it thematically, but we didn't plan to add a specific Triton to the game. There was a point when I was working on the design for Warden that it was planned to be a Triton character. But then Chris gave me the criteria of it had to be a Warforged, and I was like, oh, there we go, there's that. And so, we just haven't gotten around to making a Triton. I'd still certainly like to see one. Alrighty, I think it would be fun to have the gnome who teaches you about magic in the player's handbook as a champion. I mean, it's an interesting thing to have an homage to, and there's a bunch of characters like that would be interesting to in some way represent, but who reflect other very specific points in D&D's history. Like there was a Dungeons and Dragons cartoon back in the day, with what I would consider now to be kind of like inappropriate costumes for children to be wearing, but there was a D&D cartoon that was on for a while, and like those are characters that could be updated at some point and maybe included. It's always a possibility. What about a challenge event that limits your champions and feats patrons' buffs and blessings? It's random what gets allowed to make every player equal and then have a weekend every now and then so players can compete in getting the furthest. I mean, we've kind of very specifically avoided having anything added to the game that involves a direct competition between players. Like, we want players to have milestones to celebrate getting towards. And so when we did, when we do different challenges, like when we did, like when we worked with High Rollers or when we worked with Penny Arcade and we had weekly objectives, that allowed players to earn enough points to purchase different rewards. But what we didn't want to do was to create something that would allow players to compete directly, because we just don't want to open that door, because then you open the door also to people who do different types of scripting or exploits or what have you. Like there's a few different things that people like to do on occasion, and we don't want to encourage any of that kind of behavior. Could you do any characters from the D&D cartoon, maybe grown-up versions? Potentially, yeah. They would be a bit of a. They would need a bit of a design update, right? Like chainmail bikinis and or fur bikinis and stuff like. Those are things that D&D doesn't do anymore, and they represent an older era of D&D. So, yeah, we don't have designs for them that are modern, I guess. Can we have the barman of the Yawning Portal as a champion? Oh, yeah, that's possible. God, what? So, in case you haven't noticed, I'm a visual person. I could picture Durnan's face, but it took way too long to remember his name. Durnan would be an interesting character to add. Durnan is like basically a high-level fighter who could just murdernate anything. I mean, the dude survived in Undermountain for who knows how long. So yeah, Durnan is an interesting idea. He's potentially a patron. He's potentially a champion. He's an interesting character. He's got that sweet great sword behind the bar. Are there halflings in Idle Champions? There are. Well, there's Regis. So yes. I can't remember if we did another one. Yeah, we did. Rosie. Rosie is also in the game. I think that's both of them. Mark Olin. A tracker on the side of the screen that can track achievements that would be great in achievements of the game. Like, say I'm working on Feed the God of Mouths to check how far I progressed. I need to go to achievements, click events, scroll down. Instead, there could be an achievement tracker that can say, let's track only one achievement. I will pass your feedback along. I don't know if there's a way that our dev team is going to implement something like that, but maybe you can select an achievement and have it be something that shows up somewhere in the UI. I don't know. Yeah. Dylan has blanked Shandy out of his memory. Oh yeah, Shandy. Sorry, I rarely use Shandy because I use Crawl. But yeah, Shandy's good. Sorry, Shandy. Shandy Freefoot. The ignored halfling. Alrighty. So does the Tomb of Annihilation / Dragon Heist or Baldur's Gate Descent into Avernus have any spoilers from the adventure? Like, would they give away anything if I was going to play them in 5e? Partially, yes. Frankiliga? I don't know how to say that name. We have general story beats from each of the books, and we try to individualize them for the adventure that we send players on through our game. But certainly, if you want to go into and play one of those campaigns without any knowledge about anything in it, I would advise against reading the text. Yeah. It's also one of the reasons why we don't dive very far into adventures before they come out. Like, as a licensee for Dungeons & Dragons who produces content using material as it comes out, we do get access to books quite far in advance, and we could potentially add adventures that had spoilers for parts from each of the books. And so that's actually one of the reasons why we release adventures so slowly for it instead of focusing on one or the other. We were reading Descent into Avernus this time last year. And so we try to do our own spin on the adventure because players' experiences are going to be individual based on what kind of play group you have and what kind of DM you're playing with and what all that's like. But there are some storytelling elements from each of these adventures that are taken from the book directly and could potentially inform you of something that you wanted to have unspoiled for yourself, I guess. Are there or might there be any lycanthrope / shape-shifting heroes other than Tyrell? This game could use more werewolves. We have a were-tiger, Zaka Stormfang, who was one of the harder unlocks. You got to get pretty far into the Tomb of Annihilation campaign in order to get Azaka. She's a human fighter who transitions back and forth between her human form and her were-tiger form. And then Walnut Dungrass can shapeshift between a wolf when they're tanking and their elven form when they're not. Alrighty. I gotta read this question while I take a sip. Does a diversity of options for a given role come into consideration? We didn't have a fighter who was a tank until Havilar, and we still don't have a dwarf tank. Barrowin can kind of tank, but lacks a tag. I'd love a dwarf monk who could tank. That does come into it, and it's something that internally we have some checklists for race, class, gender, kind of like, and then like support DPS tags. Like we have checklists for all those things to kind of track how many of each we've done. And one of the reasons we made Havilar a tank is because of that. Because yes, while Havilar does kind of tank in the book, Mehen is the main tank for that particular trio, right? But we made Havilar a tank because hey, we didn't have a fighter tank yet. and we didn't have a tiefling tank, and so like we do try to include a diversity of options when it's possible. I see Giant Dwarf also echoed a sentiment for no dwarven tanks. It's true. Yeah, we don't have dwarven tanks. Is there any way we can do more with the character card screen? Upgrade from it. Rotate it and look at each character within the slot, age, role, etc. Agent Skylorn, are you talking about the gamepad UI or the mouse and keyboard / Steam / WebGL / tablet UI? Because they're both pretty different. Yeah, I can pass that along. I mean, so one of the challenges with UI related to with UI suggestions and feedback is not every player looks at the same screen and wants the same information, and so sometimes we'll get feedback that contradicts feedback that other players want, and it's like it isn't always easy to figure out exactly what it is that we're going to do that makes it easiest for all players. And so we tend to take a pretty soft approach and wait for I don't want to say a general consensus among our players, because that's putting too strong of a word on it, but like we want a fair amount of feedback about a specific type of change before we look at it seriously as a UI thing we're going to do. Because what we don't want to do is change a UI thing to try and address one problem and possibly create another one. So there is definitely more that can potentially be done with a character screen, but it doesn't mean that there's something that we want to do necessarily with it. Bula Slinky. Dylan, did you ever toss around the idea of giving familiars a personality / flavor? For example, placed in a certain slot, they click more damage against a mob type or grant a discount when clicking their favorite champion's upgrade. We've only done one. It's a bit of an Easter egg, but Crowy has a distinct thing that Crowy can do that nobody else can. Alrighty. Quick question. Will the green flame gym skin be a code or a Twitch drop? Will iOS and Android be able to get it or not? I can't speak to Twitch's interface because we are not Twitch. But the plan currently is for it to be a Twitch drop. And yeah, this is another one of those things where depending on the feedback we get and depending on how this works, there may be further opportunities to get something, but the plan right now is for it to be a Twitch drop, and I mean, we're crossing our fingers that Twitch's functionality will allow the iOS and Android versions to do that. Black Wolf 1966. Where could I go to read the dialogue as it scrolls too fast to read? So in the settings, you can actually increase or decrease the speed at which dialogue pops up, Black Wolf, and you can also pause it so that you have to click through, or skip it altogether so that it never shows up. So yeah, in the settings for the game, you should be able to find that. Are there any chances for a mage tank? I really love making wizards or warlocks who tank, and they work surprisingly well. Hey, I agree. So I'm a big fan of unconventional tanks. And like, when I say unconventional, I mean like a Hexblade Warlock is obviously a decent option as a tank, but you are able to do other more interesting things to make tanky characters. Like you can make... You can make all kinds of options that will kind of work in D&D. Like you can make a rogue tank that basically has enough dodge to be an evasion tank in combat. So like there are options. I would also like to see a mage tank. I think it would be really, really cool. Yeah, Bladed Dragon just pointed out Abjuration Wizard tank. Yeah, that would be a really obvious option. And being able to create bonus health shielding and stuff as you work, or as you play, that's super cool. All right, sorry, I have too many windows open, so I'm getting lost in my stuffs. Is there a way to test 2 DPS heroes with all relevant buffs against each other at your wall without having to hit said wall twice? For example, Jamila / Dritz. with all relevant buffs. I mean, the best option I could think of, Hat Salesman, is to create 2 formation saves around your 2 different DPS formations, and swap between them at your wall and see which one makes progress or doesn't. Lucas Galbani, what is a Twitch drop? Okay, so Twitch drops is something that Twitch introduced one version of a while ago, and recently introduced a new version of with Idle Champions being the first game who got to test it as part of the spring extravaganza. And so what it was during that day we streamed for 7 hours across 3 shows. And when a Twitch drop happens, it basically a window pops up in your Twitch chat and says, click here for this thing. And you click on it and it assigns it to your account. Which means that if you are on a platform that doesn't yet support Twitch drops showing up in your loot for Idle Champions, because it wasn't across all platforms last I checked, you will still have it on your Twitch account and it will eventually show up. But it allowed you to basically click on something in chat if you were watching the stream and get it. So yeah, that's what a Twitch drop is. It's a limited time loot drop for a game as long as you have that game connected to your Twitch account. Now it's something that we tested out with the spring extravaganza, and that we are doing with Penny Arcade to wrap up the Green Flame Gym thing. But we don't have any other active Twitch drop campaigns planned right now. It's not something we're planning on doing on all of our streams all the time. Yeah. Phoenixian Ultimatum. Not sure if it has been asked yet, but are there any plans to make saved formations remember the specialization choices we've made with said formation? This feature would be wonderful, especially with multi-adventure mode coming up. Thank you for that feedback. I'm going to pass it along to the dev team again, because I agree that it would be a cool thing. I don't know enough about what it would take to put it into the game to comment on whether or not it's something that we will plan to do, but I will pass that along. Let's see. Alrighty, Fires Nitty. I recently went into my settings and saw the link Twitch button there. My platform is Armor Games. When I click on it and press the OK for it opening in a new tab, it doesn't open a new tab. Should I ticket this? I don't know 100% if it is completely implemented yet, or if that requires new builds, or where exactly we're at with that, because I know a lot of that is still an in-progress thing. You can ticket it, but yeah, it's one of those things that we're, as I understand it, is still a work in progress. Making another note here. Alrighty. Shirigu, hello. I am curious why a champion with a low power level can make 99% of the DPS as opposed to a champion with a really high power level. Basically, in Idle Champions, most players direct all of their formation buffs possible towards one champion. And so once you start getting into really high exponential numbers, eventually they take on 99% plus of the formation's DPS because they're getting all the buffs. That's really it. There are some rare scenarios where you might want more than one DPS, but for the most part, you're just focusing on making one character as powerful as possible and using that to push your wall. Alrighty. Question: is a formation circle rework on the radar? It's not. Now, that isn't to say that there aren't improvements that can be made and that it's not something that's on our radar, but a rework of formation circles, as you just described, is not something that we're necessarily planning on. So, all I can do at this point is, pass the feedback along. So that's what I'll do. If you go with Twitch drops, suggest that a couple weeks later it comes out as a code, so people in different time zones or who are at work can still get the benefit. I mean, that's one way to look at it, Michael USA. The thing is, we want to reward players for participating. So codes that have a long shelf life don't reward players for participating in anything. They just end up being something that you give to everybody. And so our plan is not to give something to everybody, it's to reward participation. At least that's our goal with it. So, will there be more than one opportunity for players to participate and get something? That's the plan, yes. Because some people work, some people are in different time zones. But the plan is not to release something in like the Green Flame Gym skin in such a way that it's just given to every player everywhere. It's it's two contradictory things, and we're just we're trying to reconcile that. We want to be fair, but we also want to reward people for participation. Will there be a rework to the Companions of the Hall, particularly Dritz? We're not planning on doing that right now. We're really happy with the Companions of the Hall. They actually got a rework last year. What bonus would a 1 strength bonus give to Black Viper? So the feats that provide ability score increases of +1, what they offer is opportunities to use champions for different variants and possibly different patrons. That's what they're useful for. They don't offer DPS increases or anything. They just tend to allow you some flexibility with your adventures and the champions that you use. Can we have a Nimblewright from Waterdeep as a champion? I remember the Nimblewright that was brought to the temple. So the Waterdeep Dragonized Nimblewright. That's an interesting character. A clockwork champion. That's a construct. It's not something we're planning on, but I like where your head is at. Yeah, pass that along. More clockwork characters. If you could add a monster hero, an Ent, Dryad, Owlbear, what would you like to add? I mean, part of me wants a Beholder champion. Because that would just be cool. And like, as enemies come on screen, having the different eyes shoot would be awesome. But I don't know. What would I want to add? I want the Lord of Blades. The Lord of Blades as a champion. More robots, please. Some kind of Lich or Demi-Lich would be really cool. We've already got Mind Flayer Hitch. Yeah, there's some really interesting. Hell, I'd be happy with more monstrous races like a Hobgoblin character or a. Something like that. That would be cool. Let's see. I can't help but think Gromma's Melth Acid Arrow specialization should have some kind of synergy with Melth if they're both in the formations. Well, I mean, they're both support champions, so in theory, their synergy would be with whomever they can both buff well. Any chance we will see the new C-Team characters in game? We need that Centaur. Well, Garawar, there is a chance. Is inventory bugged for everyone on Xbox, or is it just me? This is the first I've heard of that, actually. So it might just be you, Chesterstone. If you close and restart the game on your PS4, or sorry, your Xbox One, and it still doesn't work, submit an in-game support ticket so we can take a look at it. The Jim Greenflame skin will also come with the click damage skin, right? I think I read that in the last AI stream. No, so the Green Flame click damage skin was released in a limited window during PAX East, I think it was. The Jim Green Flame skin is what's coming as part of the next part of that with the Penny Arcade stream next week. And if you have both of those, you will automatically get the Mage Hand Green Flame skin. The Green Flame skin for the Mage Hand Familiar. Sorry. Ugh. Just started playing today. Welcome. Are there group bonuses for certain teams, like if you build the Companions of the Hall? There are. There are synergies between the Heroes of Erebus, the Companions of the Hall, the Acquisitions Incorporated. There's a few different ones. Yeah. Total wannabe. Any undead / lich hero? Yeah, yeah. I just I like more I need more edgelords for the game. I think, and just more unconventional characters would be cool. Yeah. Oh man. So I don't know how many of you are parents, but I'm hitting that point in the afternoon where I got up early because child had to be changed, and like this point in the afternoon after 2 o'clock, I just start getting tired and like I just start crashing like I badly need a nap, and would very much love one. But I'm gonna power through for you and see how it goes. Lonzo De Lorana. The Penny Arcade stream is during the middle of the night for me. Is that the only chance we're going to have for the Green Flame Gym? That is the first exclusive chance to get the Green Flame Gym skin, and down the road we're gonna look at other ways to do it. But yeah. Wee Bales. Are there any plans to add content from Wildmount? No. Exandria is strictly Critical Role's domain. So we don't have any plans to do anything tied to it. So we won't be using any of the super awesome Dunamancy subclass options that I love because they're so rad. Nor will we be going to Exandria or using any of the unique specific stuff from there. Will there be heroes that might hold more than one slot in the party, horizontally or vertically? This may open up the chance to use large or bigger characters. That's actually something that we have discussed in the past, but we haven't opted to try and do. So, I mean, it could happen, but it's there are some aspects to that are kind of really complicated on our end. Like if you have a character that takes up 2 or 3 slots, there are a lot of formations they'll never fit in, and yeah, it's just it sounded like I got the impression that it would be a huge tech headache to try and do. Yeah. What was the point of signing up to be notified about the gym skin when you never sent out an email about it you posted on Twitter? I mean, I don't know. I can't speak to that as a bishop because I didn't handle any of that stuff. Certainly we give notice about a lot of things in our newsletters. So I'll pass your feedback along to the marketing team, of which I am, yes, a part of, but I did not handle this particular part. And I also I apologize for that kind of stuff when it does happen because right as the world shifted and lockdowns occurred and we decided we were going to be working from home all the time was when marketing became busier than it has ever been in the history of Codename. And then that was also when we split up and we were all working remotely independent of each other. So, if something was missed that we said we were going to do, I'm sorry about that. Can we get a hotkey to level up click damage like we have for leveling up champions? Maybe. I will pass that along, Dark Dragon. Let's see. Archon's Tower is obscured on the Avernus map. Will it become a hub or something? I can't comment on any potential story-related things for our plans for Avernus. But I did also notice that today. When I pulled up the map, that when you scroll to the very top left, the menu bar is over top of Archon's Tower. Whoops. Let's see. Frankie Liga. Is there a possibility on the character portrait or the character information Mouse over to show pop-up so you can see the actual effects on the champion with just a mouse over. Maybe. That's an issue that we tried to address with our advanced effects descriptions, so that if you go into the character screen and you go into their formation buffs, you have your outgoing effects and then your incoming effects with more specific information about what is affecting this champion at this time. We don't have a way to do that with like a mouse over on a champion. And if you're wondering where that is, it's in your settings. Effects descriptions, you can click on basic or advanced, and you want advanced because it gives you a lot more information. Are there plans to revamp how strength/fire breath potions work? At high levels, even the best potions barely nudge the numbers. No, we don't. We don't have plans to change how they work. Fire breath potions are actually at times too potent, and so we're happy that it will allow players to rip through things quickly with click damage, but we don't want it to be a potential route for additional progression over and above your formation strategy, because we want the way that you build up your champions and arrange them and the equipment you have for them and all that stuff to be the de facto reason that you make more progress, not whether or not you have a potion active. Unless it's like, boosting your stats or something. But yeah, we don't want it to be about fire breath potions and click damage. Will we get the gem familiar as well as the skin? Normally that would also give a gem refund for the players who already bought it. No, it doesn't. You will get the green flame Mage Hand familiar skin, and if you have the Mage Hand familiar, you will be able to swap to it. Will we be able to get the green flame Mage Hand skin and not have Jim, since I don't want Jim? Why wouldn't you want Jim? Jim is actually really good. I mean, he's not a top tier DPS, but he's actually a really powerful DPS depending on how new of a player you are and what kind of equipment you have. So is it possible to get the skin? Well, I don't think so. I think you will have everything in the lead up to getting that green Mage Hand skin. So I'm pretty sure that's how it works. Clive can correct me if I'm wrong, since he's the one leading that project. Miss Light, as a new player, is it better to use blacksmith contracts right away, or wait until I have more items? I highly recommend keeping a hold of your blacksmith contracts until you have an event champion that you want to gear up and you have equipment for them. Because it is harder to earn item levels for event champions than it is to earn them for evergreen champions, your core and evergreen unlocks. So I wouldn't use blacksmithing contracts right away, personally. Let's see. Did you know that there are no official images stating unequivocally that these are all skins and not additional things? I'm pretty sure there are, Ray Cool. There's a tweet about it. I can pull it up. Unless somebody could find that tweet faster for chat. Go to our profile. I have to scroll back a ways to get to it. Bum, 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 bum. Scrolling. God, how long ago did we post this? I know there was a Penny Arcade one recently, and the Penny Arcade one just doesn't mention that either are skins, I don't think. Okay, I see where the confusion lies. Alright, I'm going to make a note for Clive. You guys can listen to me typing to him. Alrighty. Anyways, thanks for pointing that out, Rickle. I'm going to see about getting that fixed. What about another Azamar? I don't know if the question was brought up recently. We have several tieflings right now. But really, we are the good guys, right? Yeah. I don't think we have plans for an Azamar anytime soon. Because our next two characters are both half elves, and then after that, what is it, a Genasi? I think, maybe? Yeah, anyways, we don't have plans for an Azamar soon, but there's always a chance for more. Although, now that you say that we're the good guys, I kind of want to do a fallen Azamar, like Conqueror Paladin, so that they're just like evil, super evil. You know, with black skeletal wings and stuff. Alrighty. Would it be possible to have a simulator level, similar to how fighting games like Street Fighter have an area to practice fighting combos to master? I don't know. So that sounds like a monumental development undertaking for something when really you could just go back to an earlier level of an adventure and just experiment with your formation. Like, ways to experiment with your formation and your loadout and like how you do everything exists within the game already. So I guess the question is, like, I don't know how that would have more benefit than the stuff that you can already do. So I don't know. I could pass it along, but I don't know that it's something that we're planning on looking into at all, because, yeah, we would want to do something a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? If we were going to potentially try to figure out some way to create a formation simulator or something, it would have to be a feature for the game that is more than just that. So, yeah. Are the patrons considered endgame content? Yeah, essentially. I mean, eventually you reach the point where you've unlocked all the campaign blessings and the evergreen champions. You have lots of champions, and then you can start doing patron variants and unlocking those rewards. And so, yeah, the patron system as a whole is basically like the end game content. Do the wisps use any special effects even if everything is turned down? They kill my old notebook even if it runs fine otherwise. Maver. I'm going to pass that along to our dev team because, in fact, yeah, because that sounds wrong. Is there a plan to update how Githzerai focuses effects are shown to the player? As it is now, it's a serious guessing game as to whether or not such and such an effect is boosted by Narak or not. I will pass that along. That is valid feedback. Is there a consumable that auto-clicks for set periods of times? No, you'll need to unlock familiars in order to click for you. And then when you do, they'll show up down here and you can just drag them onto the battlefield and they will click things. Although, I'm at area 270. Oh, I guess I'm going to finish this variant after all on stream. So they'll click. And then each one adds a rate of clicks to how quickly you click. So if you have 6 of them out, they click real fast. All they really do right now is kind of stun lock the enemies coming in, though. Can we get a hotkey for leveling all champions and formations? I can pass that along, but I don't think that's likely. I don't understand what you get from restarting to 0 every time. So, Aussie QTR, what you get is you earn gold throughout your adventure, and that gold turns into favor with a particular deity, which in turn amplifies how much gold you can earn after that. So that's what you get from restarting. And then on top of that, you get the gems from killing bosses, and you potentially get chests from killing bosses as well. So when you restart from 0, you are increasing the amount of favor you have, allowing you to earn more and more gold. And then eventually you can buy more upgrades, buy more champions, etc. Like, it's, you know, that's kind of how that works. So that's the point of restarting. The more the more you push to your wall and restart, the more powerful you get. Eventually, you get enough favor. You can buy blessings. So like in this here blessings menu, where is it? There it is. You start buying all the blessings for your campaigns, and these blessings make you more powerful, allow you to make more progress. And so you get all your blessings, make more progress, you get more gold, you get more favor, you buy stuff faster. Eventually, you'll have enough favor that you kill the first enemy, and you have enough gold to level up all of everybody in your formation to full level, and then you can, either close the game and let it auto progress on its own, or you can tab out or whatever. Can you send me some of the purple things you have on your champions? Thank you in advance. These champions have some purples. Yeah, it's true. Will there be anything new to spend gems on other than gold/silver chests? Have had all the gem familiars for a while now, and thank you for them. So we do have plans at some point to introduce more gem familiars. But in terms of other things to spend gems on, that's kind of a trickier route to go. Without getting into how the transactional aspects of the game work, because I can't really get into it because I'm totally not the person to speak to that kind of stuff. Anything like that, introducing new store items, that kind of stuff, those are all things that are very much taken very seriously and handled in a very deliberate way. Yeah. You can expect more gem familiars at some point down the road, but I don't know if we'll have anything else for sale for gems. Would it be possible to get more skins for the click damage? Colors, varying effects, etc. It's possible, yeah. It was a door I did not expect us to open while I was on leave having my baby. Well, I didn't have the baby. On leave being there for my wife as we don't sleep, taking care of a baby for a month. So yeah, click damage skins are still pretty new to me. But yeah, I think since the reception was really positive to the green flame click damage, that I think it's safe to expect that there will probably be some other kinds in the future. A champion whose ultimate ability turns an enemy into a temporary familiar in its own special slot for attacking monsters for 5 minutes. Is that possible? That's an interesting idea. It's a really interesting idea. Thanks for that one. Huh. Can we get a gold find breakdown added similar to what we have for TPS? So like when you mouse over, I just realized that I'm not playing anything, so I guess I'll start this next variant. So gold find breakdown, similar to this. So you want to like have a thing where it just says everything about your gold find for over here. I could pass the feedback along. I don't know what that would look like if we do it, but all right. So this is the High Con adventure. I'm just gonna put Elturel up at the front. I'm gonna turn off progress because I want to buy some champions. How about High Con champions? Oh man, this is where Dylan wishes there was such a thing as a max level button. Bum 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 bum. Somebody's like, it's Dylan at time. Yeah, it is. Can I use Dylan after this? I can. There she is at the back. Oh man, I can't remember the last time I put Dylan in a formation. Okay, I have to ask, is everything is awful a reaction to the Lego song? It's really, really hard not to think of that song, hey? I'll put Ava in here, I guess. And, well, actually, do I want... what other tank options do I have right now? Because the problem is Dylan is so far at the back. Grama. Grama? Yeah, let's put Grama up front. Arctic. Madness of Delano formation. We really are on the first level of hell. Yeah. Wow. Korth is the only one. All right. We want him to attack faster, or do we want him to do more? Let's go with attack faster, then I can move him somewhere else. Everything is awesome. Do I want... Oh, I also could have had Evelyn as a... Actually, you know what? I will have Evelyn. I haven't used Evelyn in a while. Plus, Construct. Bum, 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 bum. Everything is cool when you're part of a team. It's true. Oh man, now I'm gonna start humming that song. That stupid song. Who else is available? Ooh, Ayla. I like Ayla. Ayla's great. Do I want the stun length or do I want the storm or a cooldown right now? I mean, normally I pick Stormbreaker, but I'm gonna go with Stormcaller here just to change things up. Well, oh wait. Oh, I just derped and totally picked the one I wasn't going to pick. I'm gonna go with Barrowin. Hammer stacks for Delina. That's good, right? Of course, then I want Korth to not be beside Barrowin, so she attacks faster. God. I can't imagine this formation is that good. Yeah, to be honest, I don't know if Barrowin will even work right now. That's a good point. Yeah. I know some kind of buff was planned, but... Look at this janky nightmare of a formation. What am I doing? Well, at least Delina is technically the highest hitter, the hardest hitter. Good lord. All right, I depressed myself staring at that. I'm going to try and get through the rest of these questions before wrapping up. What are the chances of a chest dropping from boss, and what are the chances of a gold chest dropping? I don't know that we've ever actually disclosed that exact percentage. I want to say the chances of a silver chest dropping from a boss I'm not quite clear on off the top of my head, and I'll pass it along and see if they're willing to give that to me. But I know that the chances of that chest being replaced with a gold chest are by default like 2 or 3%, and then the global blessing brings it up to like 5%. Yeah. Are there any champions that are criminally underused, and what is the plan to get them used more? We do reworks and balance updates. Like Birdsong had reached a point where Birdsong was criminally underused leading into the most recent update, and now Birdsong is used again. So the plan is basically to try and bring them all closer to a similar level of viability so that players have options and they can use the characters they like the most more than the ones that are de facto the best. All right. Let's see. I would totally spend a huge pile of gems for extra feat slot. I keep having to swap Celeste's Constitution and Intelligence feats depending on which patron I'm working for. Well, I mean, you could just use both of them and not use the plus 80% to Crusader's Mantle or whatever. I joined this game like 3 days ago and I'm currently going for Azaka. Do you know if the gold farm Azaka strategy still works? It does, yeah. Ever think you would add a potion that instantly applies your favor instead of having to restart your adventure? No. That sounds super exploitable. So I don't think so. Could you add a maximum level? Yeah, I that's my fault. I'm also going to pass that along again because I want a max level button, so I'm just gonna pass that feedback along. Can you get enough healers that Dragonbait can buff Delina in the back for this variant? I don't know. How many healers are even available right now? God, look at this. So many limited characters. I don't know. I'm not sure. But I'm just going to marvel at the fact that this formation exists because it just looks so bad to me. And I'm going to deliberately not work on it just so that you all have to suffer through it. Are there any plans to change gearing up event champions after the events are over, like a year whatever chest that has gear for all the event champions from a given year? Possibly only accessible if you've completed all that event achievements or for the year or something. I get that time gates are for that, but it feels like a slow trickle of gear compared to gold chests for evergreens. Well, I mean, there's an intentional, like, keep in mind, Bear Claw McGraw, like, while we do want it to be possible for players to unlock all the champions, get a reasonable amount of equipment for them, and complete everything without putting a penny into the game, we do want players to have incentives to put pennies into the game so that we can continue to make it, right? Like, and so that balancing act of having enough ways for you to get stuff, so that players do have ways to catch up if they, if they put in the time and effort. I like having a job. Other folks at CNE like having a job. There's that part of it too, right? So those things become really delicate things to make adjustments to and balance. So, like, do we have plans right now for a year one gold chest? No, we don't. But yeah, it is something, like, full disclosure, we do have to keep that in mind at times, because if you don't make a business case for all your decisions, like, you do have to operate your game in such a way that it keeps itself alive, right? So, yeah. I've had everything you know is wrong stuck in my head from the other variant. Isn't that a Weird Al song? Everything you know is wrong? Yeah. I've always looked at games like this as the old saying, time or money, which do you want to spend as a player? Kind of, yeah. Like, we want players to be able to put the time into the game and feel rewarded for their time and unlock the stuff they want to unlock and complete the content. That is important to us, but we also want some players to be like, we like this game and we're gonna support the developers in this way, or I want this thing, or whatever. And so that's the thing that you got to go back and forth on. Running with Scissors, yeah, that's a polka song too, right? That Weird Al one. Everything you know is wrong. Black is white, up is down, and short is long. That's it, right? God, I bet if I heard the song, I would start remembering the lyrics, even though I haven't heard that song in like 15, 20 years. Which now just makes me feel freaking old. God. Thanks for that reminder. I'm old. Yay. All right. Let's see. Is there any way to open the shop, change feats, or that kind of stuff while you were in the in-game map? No, there isn't. The only thing you can do for the map is choose adventures and variants and swap between patrons or activate time gates. Other than that, you need to be in an adventure in order to do stuff. Hashtag support your local game dev. Hashtag Weird Al sing along. As a new player, should I focus on silver or gold chests? What is more efficient? So I've heard conflicting viewpoints on that from a number of different players. At the end of the day, gold chests get you rare gear and potentially epics, while silver chests get you common common gear and uncommon gear with the potential for rare gear. And rare gear will help you get more progress as a whole. So, like, as I understand it, gold chests are probably the better investment to start until you have at least rare equipment on all of your evergreen champions, and then, yeah. You're not even at midlife these days with all the medical advancements. It seems like we'll live to 130. Hey, yeah, wouldn't that be cool? Gold chests are probably better. Some players, I see it in chat. Some players like buying some of the cheaper familiars first, because they can really aid with some gameplay. And as Possible Cabbage just correctly pointed out, you can get a lot of silver chests just from playing the game a lot. So, yeah. Any chances of something like the blessing screen being added to the campaign menu without having to start a campaign? It's not something we're planning on doing, Wesu. there's always a possibility, but it's not something that we're planning on. Right now, the achievement for completing all the variants of an event champion does not appear when I do time gates. So when year 1 champions disappear from events, how will new players get their variant achievements from them? You can still get variant event achievements from time gates. So that includes year 1 champions. The only one that you won't be able to get will be the free play achievement. Could you make a purple chest that guarantees epics or whatever is a high tier for gear, or maybe for shinies? The only guarantee for getting shinies is to make purchases. But otherwise, the shinies just kind of appear at a very low drop rate. I want to say it's like 1 in 1,000 chests is the drop rate. It's like 0.1%. And it's not, there's no mechanism in place to guarantee that you will get it within 1,000 chests. Like there was a stream a couple weeks ago where Mars got like 2 silvers during his stream, which is, that's a rare achievement. I haven't had that happen to myself. Artie, is there any game testing that players could apply to? So we do sometimes, have some beta testing for upcoming features of the game, and there are a handful of players that have done that did that for the offline progress system. And down the road, at some point, very likely there will be players doing it for the Modron Automation multi-adventure mode testing, which, that would be interesting. But we don't. It's not something that we have opened up for applications. It's something that we, so far have only really hand-picked players to do that, because the types of feedback that we get and how it's communicated and all that stuff is like a very important part of that process as we work and iterate on it. But there's always a chance that we might do wider testing for something, in which case, there's a possibility that players could apply for it. Are wild offers meant to provide discounted bundles of stuff, or to simply give players the opportunity to pick up things they've previously missed? Any plans on rethinking the approach? Thanks. So right now, what it is it's a system that is an opportunity to get things that have been missed. A number of the golden epics, not everything, but the majority of the golden epics that have been used for previous weekend promotions, as well as some skins, some familiars that were part of DLC packs or things that have disappeared. Those can pop up in wild offers and not anywhere else currently. And it's an iterative algorithm based thing, so it's something that's always being tweaked. So I can pass feedback along for it, but it's not something that I can really pass. It's not something I could do more than pass feedback along for, let me say. Please let us buy more than 1 gold test at a time. I'm assuming you don't mean with money. You're talking about the in-game shop UI. I can pass that along. The more we get feedback like that, the better. That is probably for this person. Anyways, wow, it's 2:53. So it means that it's time for me to start wrapping up the things. So first things first, thank you for joining me today. There's a lot going on in this crazy world, and things are very different for the majority of us than they have ever been before. So I appreciate that you are taking time out of your day to spend some time with me, talking about the game, talking about in-game features. Shout out to Erica for managing the C&E Games account for the stream, for the moderation, for handling the giveaways, all that stuff. Erica is awesome. There are other people who have showed up in chat, like Sean, and I'm sure others. I haven't been able to pay as much of attention to it as I would like, because I've been reading questions, but hidden code clue. Something that somebody in chat should recognize will understand a clue. The clue. I'm wearing the clue on my head. The clue is right here. maybe you'll get it, maybe you won't. But the clue is right here. Anyways, this show exists because of lots of awesome people. I already talked about Erica, but I could talk about Erica again because Erica's awesome. But there's also our partners at D&D, Greg, Bart, Pelham, Allison, Shawling, Lisa. This has been our show for Thursday, April 16th, 2020. Please, please, please do your best to stay safe and healthy. Maintain social distancing, despite the fact that I'm sure, like me, you're getting a little cagey and you would like to see at least some people sometimes. But resist that urge until, this pandemic is more under control. So take care, everybody. Take care of each other. Be kind. And I will catch you next week. Cheers.